Hi and welcome to WarHQ. My name is Lucius. Today's episode, what we're going to be doing is continuing on with last week's theme of the Kill Team Octarius releases, or the leaks that we've been getting from Games Workshop, Warhammer community, and also some of the things we've heard in the pipeline as well. We started this last week with the first lot of stuff, which brought us right up to close combat in Kill Team, shooting, all the data cards, and then just reactions to the actual box set itself and the cinematic trailer. But this week we're going to go and look at some of the other things that we've learnt in the meantime. So if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to the channel. It takes you a second to do, means a lot to us here at WarHQ. But for now, let's start the episode. Kill Team has always been a game of alternating actions, but they were previously tied to the conventional structure of Warhammer 40,000. Even though players took turns to activate one model at a time, movement still had to happen during the movement phase, shooting in the shooting phase, and so on. So as we know now, we're talking about the activation rules. Now, we already knew from last week that we have a thing that's called APL, so Action Point Limit. Now, Games Workshop themselves have said that basic humans are going to have like 2 AP, Marines, and that kind of thing, and some of the Harlequins and stuff are going to have 3 AP, and Custodes have been hinted at having 4 AP. So this gives us a little bit of an idea about what we're looking at here with these new action point rules. And this first announcement, well, this week anyway, really goes over this. And what it does do is it gives us a number of potential actions that we might be able to perform with our operatives. So as you can see, you have the normal move, makes sense. Charge, pretty basic. Shooting, all 1 AP. Fighting is a 1 AP. Fallback is 2, which is interesting, which means that, I guess, in this instance, if you're a normal human or like a basic guardsman or something trying to fall back, then that's your entire action points gone. But if you're a Marine, you might be able to fall back and shoot, which is quite interesting. Maybe fall back and charge. I'm not sure if you can do those 2 actions together, but that sounds pretty cool as well. Sounds a little bit like AOS, how they do that. You can fall back and charge with some units. And then you have unique actions. So these are various ones listed in the operatives data card. So interesting stuff there. It really does open up a lot of options for how you're going to run your teams. I gather there's probably going to be some ways to increase your AP within the game, maybe just with command points or whatever they're going to use. It sounds like something that might be able to stretch combatants out a little bit to be able to do more things. But for those, like Harlequins and Custodes and Marines and stuff, it looks like they're going to be able to do more things, which, look, let's face it, makes sense. The fire teams that they've already announced for these kind of things and the limits to those with the no point system is obviously going to make it more balanced when your smaller Marine kill team is going to be able to perform a lot more actions per operative than a guardsman team, for example. So I kind of like what they're doing there. I think I dig it. I see where it's going. And yeah, that was the first thing we heard of this week. Points are officially a thing of the past in Kill Team. Balance, on the other hand, most certainly is not. Because while you're no longer using raw numbers to buy operatives in your list, the designers have effectively baked your operatives' points values into the way you pick your rosters. Alright, so the next thing we learnt this week was that points have been totally replaced within Kill Team, and now what we have is a different system which enables you to choose preset sort of fire teams that you have some options within, and each faction may have a couple of these kind of fire teams to choose from, but they, depending on the faction, again, it's going to be limited to how many of these fire teams you're able to choose within your kill team. So an example that they give is that a guardsman fire team can have 2 fire teams within their list of a kill team, where your Adeptus Astartes can only field 1. So what that means, as we've been going before with the last one, they're a lesser troop, the guardsmen, as opposed to an Astartes, so you're going to get more of them. And looking at this list down below, you can see that a typical guardsman fire team, you can choose either a guardsman or Tempest Scion team from the list above. So they've only given us the Guardsman Fire team, and as you can see from here, the Guardsman Fire team includes 7 Guardsman operatives. So that's can be troopers, comms, or gunners. So you can see here that you can take pretty much unlimited amount of troopers. You can take a comms, but then your special operatives, so like this is gunners and anything other than a guardsman trooper, you can only take up to 3 of. So that's interesting. You've got 5 different options there. So you've got flamer, grenade launcher, melter gun, plasma gun, sniper rifle, and each of those can only be taken once. So there's no more plasma spam, as they say. I'm sure when you get to tower, there's going to be no more drone spam. All that thing is gone. But what is replaced with that is, I suppose, a few different options that you can use to equip your kill teams with now, with special weapons and gunners and comms and all those kind of things. So this is interesting, I guess. In this list also you can see that you can, if you don't have a leader already, you can you can exchange a guardsman trooper with a guardsman sergeant, and they can be either equipped with bolt pistol, las pistol, or plasma pistol, and a chainsaw or a power weapon. Now we did get some of the stats for these last week, and if you want to do that, just go back and have a look at those. So how is this all going to work on an actual competition or a match play roster? They do give us a bit of an example here of how that could work. So in the previous edition of Kill Team, you could choose 20 operatives or warriors for your roster. Now from those 20, you could then choose your fire teams. Choose the warriors that you wanted to use per battle if you're at a competitive scene. So it's the same sort of thing here. So I'm assuming with this one, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be putting down pretty much all the options you could take, and then like if you've got 2 fire teams and you can take 7 each, then there's you sort of put 14 down if you wanted to, and then with leaders, and then you could have scions. You could change it around a little bit. So with your 20-man roster, you can cover probably most bases with most forces, I'm thinking, within your limitations there, which is interesting, really interesting. I'm glad they didn't lose that. It was an aspect of the game that I really enjoyed personally, playing at tournaments. I really like that side of it, being able to cater your kill team to the opponent that you were facing at that time, which makes lots of sense. So I mean, obviously if you're going to be fighting, you're a guardsman team and you're going to be fighting Astartes, you're going to be taking a lot of heavy weaponry that is good against armor, you know what I mean? More so than rapid fire stuff and flamers. You're probably going to be taking more heavy damage stuff like melter guns and plasma, which was always the same before as well. So this is interesting. Look, it just gives you another aspect of what we can do, and I'm glad they haven't dropped this. I quite like it. Interesting to see the fire teams and how deep they go into it. I mean, are guardsmen only going to be able to go guardsman or tempest scion? I mean, maybe this is just for the initial core rulebook, and I'm assuming that when the operatives rulebook comes out, like with a new, with the compendium of all the races and stuff like that, I'm sure there's probably going to be more into there, like all the elite options. So I mean, we're going to get Ogrins and things like that again. We're going to be able to use the Blackstone Fortress stuff again, say with the guardsmen. All of those things, I guess, will be answered pretty soon as we are approaching when all of this stuff is going to be coming out, which is really juicy. So this is interesting. I like this update, and it's good to get a clarification on. Rest assured, nearly every faction can build a team of specialist operatives within Kill Team. Compendium Supplement, which is available at the same time as the launch box. Alright, so probably the announcement that everyone wanted to hear, I guess, was the next one, which is the Compendium, so the Kill Team Compendium. So this is going to pretty much fill in the gaps for all the other factions within 40k Kill Team, or most of them, it sort of says. So we don't know which ones are going to be not included, I guess. Now, there has been some speculation that this will only be like the original Kill Team book, which just had the basic troop types you could have, and then they're going to be bringing out like more of an elites sort of compendium later down the track to sell us more books, I guess, and make more money, but that's just how it is. So if that's the case, this is going to, just give us our basic stuff again, which is cool. We need somewhere to start and to see where we're going. It's going to take us a while to get in tune, I guess, with this new system. So by the time the elites come out, we should be well and truly into it, and maybe a couple of competitions down. So looking forward to that. And what they have given us here is 3 examples of different stat cards for different troops. So, and given us a few little hints in the same time. So the first one they gave us was the Poxwalker. Now the Poxwalker, looks like what you'd sort of expect here. It's still got its disgustingly resilient, which is still a 5+ shrug, which is really cool. It does have mindless now, which is interesting. So that just subtracts an additional 1 AP when you try and do certain things. It moves slow. It's only got a 2 circle movement, which is a bit slower. 7 wounds, so it's just the average. Nothing really special about it. Improvised. It does have 4 attacks with its improvised weapons, which is pretty cool. They don't do a lot of damage, and it's a 50-50 to hit. But it's still not bad, you know what I mean? And it does give us a hint down here that a fire team of Poxwalkers would be 8 strong. So that's interesting in itself, because in the last one they said that there would only be 1 fire team available for Adeptus Astartes. But for Death Guard, it looks like there'd have to be at least 2, right? Because you can't just have a 1 fire team of Poxwalkers of 8. You're not going to do much with that. So I'm not sure how they're going to do that. Maybe there's less Death Guard models within their actual kill team of Death Guard. So we'll see. Let's see how it goes. The second model they gave us was the Dire Avenger. Love my Dire Avengers. It says here that there's only 4 within one of their fire teams, which is interesting again. Now, what you expect from elves. They do have the APL of only 2, so they are just like a normal human. Same movement as well, same defense. Better save on 4+. It's 8 wounds, which is good. Now you see that they've got Avenger Shuriken catapults. Look, nothing really to write home there. It looks pretty cool. They do have a special rule which is balanced, and they have another one called rending, which is interesting. So that'll make them a little bit more unique with their shooting, and they have their defensive tactics as well. So they look pretty standard, not too bad. And then you have the last one they showed us here was the Custodian Guard. This thing's a lethal killing device. As you know, you only get 2 Custodian Guards within a fire team, so that's interesting in itself. You don't want too many, obviously. We only used to be able to field 3 within standard kill teams, so I suppose they have combined these with sisters at the moment, so like in the new sort of list that you can build. So let's see how that goes. These are everything you expect. Look, they've got 4 APL, which is obviously going to be the highest within the game, and probably their wounds limit of 18 is going to be right up there as well. These are going to be very hard to kill on a 2+ save. Look at their weapons; like they've got lethal stuff. It's all pretty good, really. There's nothing bad there, is there? It all has special rules and effects. So let's see how we go with that. So there were the drops on those, and the Compendium. Look, it's going to be really. Look, I'm sure everyone's waiting for this one. This is the one I've been waiting for to see, and I'm glad it's being released at the same time as the box set. Obviously, you don't want to just have the Orc Commandos and the Death Corps to choose from. You might not even be interested in those, and you may have 10 other kill teams like I do. So let's see how we go with that. The kill team rules have been completely rewritten for the new edition, and the terrain has been given the same attention as everything else. Each piece in the box has a defined set of rules that affects how your operatives interact with it. Okay, very interestingly, with this edition, they've released that the terrain is going to have more effect on the battlefield, and I'm quite happy about this. I think terrain can be a little bit, a little bit lackluster in a lot of the 40k sort of stuff. It doesn't really play much of a part in anything. Beyond just cover and line of sight sort of stuff. But in this one, it seems like they've gone a little bit further, and a few examples I give is the ramshackle barricades. They're light and traversable. So traversable means that operative must clear a small obstacle in their way. So that basically means they can move over it, and it costs you a white circle to do so. You just can't finish on top of it, which is pretty cool. But the light effect of it itself doesn't give much tactical advantage. So upgrade from that is sort of like the ramshackle wall example, which they give us. And the ramshackle wall has different sections. So the bottom section is heavy. The platform is called a vantage point, and then you have traversable and light at the top, which is very similar to the barricades I just talked about before. So let's have a look at what these might be. So a vantage point is a terrain feature with a vertical element that operatives can be placed upon. If a part of the terrain feature is not defined as a vantage point, operatives can climb over or traverse it, but they cannot finish their moves on it. Okay, that's interesting in itself, and I'm assuming that there may be some sort of advantages to shooting from that platform as you would expect, because you're up higher, you might be able to see over different terrain that's lower and things like that, which is quite cool. And other examples I give there with oil pumps and also the bottom of those walls is the heavy. So heavy terrain provides cover and is obscuring. So this is like more dense stuff like solid steel that you can't sort of shoot through, or you have a harder time shooting through anyway. So, and another example, the final example I give there is scramble. So this is operative cannot climb over this part of the terrain feature. Instead, they must scramble over it. To do so, an operative must perform a scramble over or charge over action. So that's interesting. That's something new. Doesn't look like you can stay on those things. So it's sort of, these are sort of like low, just bits of terrain just sitting around, so that you've got to sort of just jump over, I guess, by the look of that. So there might be some sort of risk involved in doing that. But interesting all the same, you know what I mean? Having these options makes terrain more interactive and just overall just better in general. I do really like the Orc terrain that they brought out. I was thinking about getting some Orc terrain. I do play a lot of Orc stuff, and new box set will provide that, so pretty happy about that in itself. But those are the new terrain things that got released this week. So some pretty interesting announcements there that really changed the way the game has played itself. Really interested in how they're going to run, like the team building thing. Like I hope they get right. Like I kind of like the idea of where they're going. I hope it's not too linear, like where it's just you'll always just choose the same stuff. You know what I mean? And that's all you'll ever see taken from that faction, because you know what I mean. And there's a lot of that happened in the past too. I mean, things have never been totally balanced, have they? But I just hope that there's enough options and enough different fire teams you could choose to make it different. And if they are all really as balanced as they say they are, then that could be interesting. But let's just see how it goes. Now there were a couple of other things announced as well, and that was the match play missions and the narrative campaign missions, which I didn't go through in this video, but I think those two deserve a video for themselves because they are a little bit more extensive, and I will be doing that following up on this video. So if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. It takes you a second to do, means heaps to us. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for everything you've done and watching. Please consider becoming a Patreon. There's more exciting things we want to do with this channel, and with your support, we'll be able to do them. But for now, my name is Lucius. You're you. This is WarHQ, and we are signing out.